Ik satini, de kat Johan. Ach toe ik wujin chasati. A dacht she. Kekok we mook yachana. Uhan koa. Slinket. Yuchatangi tade. Hakkos gid. De ewe ach tuati. Ja, hin takach oor ja, je habuti. Ja, kunachwe ach tuas a gut kleich hai uti. Kleich hati. Gwell cellfwll chi siaegi. We gwcha adia candu clesti a chana. USA. Ka Canada. Wooch ka gate a ya hasakawa ak. Helma sakwati gwell I tuas a gui latini. Chan ko a. Hayu katangi da dejagach tune. Ajawe kachshit ya chana. Gwell acho a we kuu hasu tuas a gu hasawti. Pasawti. We kunsa. Da kun jen kar ka kejen tag shuhihin. Wush kana chaswuta aden. Sheet kach. We Sunday chag. Has du geit wat tu saach. Ja, jedet. Zu aya. Kagach tu aach has du yuch atangi. At gach tu saach. Itch a. Wujin yuch agach tu saach. Aga away. Ja, Lingít yuch atangi shukwa. Aga awe a itch a. Kleika yuch atangi. Just takatas tu yuch atangi da. Ach tu asagu yuch agach tu saadi. Yewe a de wujin yejagach tu ne yetsu. Ja, da a itch. Da kuksa a itch. Anushi klingadani ka. De awe, we da got klechwasa kuksa. We do yuchatangi. Hechwasa kukwash. Gwash klesh at gach tu sa ach. Just ki nach gach tu tu. Gwash ki we. Dech a. We Alex Andrews for Sally Hopkins. Has to I. Ja, jidet ko a. Goud koude hit has to yuchatangi at gach tu sa ach. Gulchish. Trach a do sa yawat lachi. Gwash USA, gwash Canada. Yachana. Wooch cake took a sa. Wooch cake took kwasa. Like took kwaskhan. Yeah, away. Achadi. Gulchish. Ja, da were to ach. Ke kook. Kunachoy wuk do yuchatangi. Ja, gwash. Dech je gikhanach away. Yawchi. Atutusa achi. Ja, du itch. Kichnáalx. Aka. Yeeguwáatlʼ acho a. Kesh kadushhit has to yuchatangi. Ajoe just at gartusa ach. Aka gwash. Dech was kleinach was dachnach. Aka zu gartu tu. Wait. Oh.
Hete jukta ik nog. Kijk hoe to achawe. S'eek was ades kaya kai. Gas etewe. Gas etewe. Ayayi khatu stinin. Oh ya itatewe. Yat atu yat khasawuti khato shaisinuk takatawe atayashikaniskho akakshiwu kakontanetit shikishu tsahtu wachiutlekhotlakhetak atayahatu hiyawa tsatekondekhat nayo yaitat yaitat kwete yitahani nakhat khukautia ye awe achikaktus khukhunawe atusatuichikautus khukhuwe jis khottuetak kunne uhan tsakat tuita wasik tayatte awe tuichikautus lekhu nakhawushas iskouchen tuyate khosasati awe yaitat awe yaisiki kuna chisha yaitat ya kiksati yate chikawa ay patan saat haja pikakhu sasakinu te khahu taye akawasa nawultin ya dakhot يوم خيتين أوقات خيته يسي كوسة دوكو خانشيده كدين قنيو هينوه وتلوك قنيك هينوه خيكين أواتش كتان قنيو هين شادي قنيا هنايو أختواسي جو خناخ تاخش كختنيكي نيكي تنيخ خاندش قنيا خد أواسا نيكي أخكاني هسوا كاغان تان أخكاني داتلتجا إيتيك داختوة تيشالي Ja. Tok, ik had toch echt ook zo kennelijk. En ik gewoon dat kan het zo hier. En ik gewoon nou wat. Weggeef. Firen. Dus je kan het ook. Die gauw die hand. En ik gewoon niet de ooit, zo kan ik zitten. Als ze ja, ik dacht dat als je gaat zitten. Maar gaat zo toe. Je traint de kachel gaat je thee, gaat je thee. Ik nog had ik gaat zo thee. Ja, de goeste gouden dag is het niet. Kus kan deze keer is koud te zeggen. Als je is te goud dag. En als cheese gaat zeggen, ja gaan. Kijk. En als cheese zo. Yeeguwáatlʼ geen koude kaas zo tot les ook. Hartelijk ook gaan dat is genoeg je. Awe. Ja. Awe. Ja, dat. Jaxka is nu goed keer. Je toen ook ik had ook goed en tijdsline het zich is te gaan niet. Ja. Awe. Ja, dat uit eten ik had al wat gewegen wat uit zich in. Atje, je ga je het ge. Ja, ik had je en het laat ons goed kauwen. Je was eigenlijk ʼatulitseen jineiyí awe ʼatudli.átk ahawakiyaka atje kakautoaketl tekautoa hunawecha ʼatulitseen kwasakakas hastukusti qastuyuqotanke tiana ʼatudli.átk haji kakiyaketl atje hete xukwaqtutan Eakusketaket, Haji Kanakaskautikit, Hakakas qaatliiskos. Yaai tatawe. Yaatu. Yakkelk. Yuqotan kawatuchi yeeguwáatlʼ.
Eichavewita.
Siishewe. Yaai tatiaqliiskuiteqaneeq. Yaaqtaakuwakut. Tatoksiku yuqot. Tan yeewusne. Yaaqawa naqas kaudikit. Liiskuhas. Tushite sewe. Yani wasa kaudlichaq hastuqustiyi. Yatki qayi ishas qausiteqishi teqaneeq. Yinnaqawe nascha kaudlika. Awaha qausaha. Naqas kaudikit. Atchawe hastui tite. Chastui tikawe yushatawaqik. Yeekuni na teqliiskuiteqaneeq.
أختوك إيسيقوق أختتالي شاو دليك إيات يقيلي يا خاصتي أتيو يا إن بيقا يسستهوت تكيك أيو أدخلتو سيك يا أيو يا خال أختويتي سيستيس خبردس ياكتاك خكوتي ياختش خلق إيال آتس خيا خيه أيوه أختوالك إلوش أكخيا لخكوتش أخسكات أتيوخوا أخت يخليك أس أتسقيا قايا كيكستي تشخلايا أخت ستي يا يسخط وصاه يشيتك يقصقاو يا يكاشيش أكاخ قوتي كتش يشيت كاخ أقاوه ساخشي تتواتي كاخ قوتا كتش يو يسخط وصاخ ليش قاس كيكساتي يا يتات تقول الأخصية يا تأقيل يخليش قوهس أتشيو يا يتات يوق أختلك أختويك يا يتات يخليك قصاص دقيق يك يوق أختلك يا يتات أختوك أخيك يا يختويتي قياها تسقى يقاي يختس خلقيال هسقيت أختي وياها سسقتي لي يا يختولتيج أتيوت أختول تسيلوت يوهسخ أختي قيخ إيش هسلي يا لخا كاقوال تاليتي قيخت ستي لاوية يوتو ساقو لخ إيش ناوية يات يايتات ياك أتس قيخيه يا يخكاكس تشخل قسالي يا تاكس أوات تايوش قوسيات تكديتي خديختواتي الخطتالي أتيا ياكتاك خواكوت ياكوت ياختش خلق إسالي هستوك يا هستوشيدك تقيت كيك هلدت يا هستوشيدك هكوكيك يا كاوكي أعطيك أختي تالية كل الشيش يختيجي لاقي
ياقوي قطن جيك يودك قطي ياتا تشكوت ياك ستقيق نخليش كوهس ويقطن جيسا كوخساني قنقنا يت كوخاني كخطشا وكيكا وسيخت يوونه تياكختو تياكوكو هايت كخطشا ياو تي يانا كيكا تتوخيش Tiyaatewach yaakatutlaki. Yeeguwáatl'k yaat atshikotawa yudek potetowa kenach ayaktitan. Ketlewach tawa usko. Yaka yaate kaante hokute. Huti aisako choko wakakotanik. There was a man, his name Dr. Johnson. You all know him, ʼatudli.átk. And there's no man who walked on the sea. You all know it. That's the salt water out there. But this is the man that walked on the sea. Roy Pradovich had to be a witness to watch his uncle had walked on the sea. He looked at it. Hassan it's happy quits a yak. Achawa, Chachak over. Mr. Brown, Takwasani, Hayaksha is here. Chachayi Sunday, what's a hin who were good. Talk what the yeah, and show what I'm gonna teach. Yeah, thank you very much. Well, it's a year away at tea. I think it's a tea. We can cut it short, and still we made it. We cut it short because Roy and Mr. Brown one day step out tonight, you know. You can see it on his face. So we cut it short. Thank you very much. ʼatulitseen go khatso. ʼatulitseen. The midway through the Sargon. Go yeeguwáatlʼ. You use S'eek. I used to listen to him. And he used to say that one way love. Yeeguwáatlʼ kuchnáalx. Wooch kuchnáalx for all living. Yeeguwáatlʼ. Ja, die daat hier kuchnáalx. Ayi daat khatse. Tu scholes khatati khatso. Kullakishawa. Iishat sakinya. At yeeguwáatlʼ. ʼatulitseen yak alhasudinaka. Yeeguwáatlʼ Ākhīl sakinya. Alaska lady brother who to a good day. Alaska lady brother who to a good so. S'eek a'tudli. Atayayat. The way God is Khutiti. Atkhasagukhaye. So has to lock it up. They'll goodly. Ḳaal has to ʼatulitseen. Kullakishawa. Ate. Ayi daki shi. Yastu yeeguwáatlʼ. Wayaki chesi. Kullakis. Yeeguwáatlʼ daakaka. Ātudli. Yaktathalkiyal. Tlakhwāku kayatsa. Ketaktuwausko. Shkalneegí. Kichnáalx. Johnson. Achadgut. Yadatke. Hasuyat khasatuvut. Achuyat kete koksakawayahuti. Ketaktuwausko tuyekhatiye. In one reason. Yes, unless he's lying. He's not telling the truth. He's not doing right. The reason why. But now I thank you, all you delegates and all these officers. Thank you very much to take all out of our work and be thankful.
ʼatulitseen. ʼatudli.átk. Atlinak wikuk atu yeeguwáatlʼ. Asashtik qakhatati haji yeeyati ya yidat. Shiatihini kuukolhas yujina khayawutin. Aqat uoya ajid shuchhin. Ya hastu yuqatangi qahastu yeejineiyí. Shiatihini atkwalhatuasaku atu yeeyati atulqayni. Aqwati. Ya yidat qaaqtuasaku qaaqni. Wasadatawe yitu.ʼatk. Kwalya yidat. Ya hastu yuqatangi. Atutisa aaqni. Ya aqo yeo adati tuqtatang. Wanqanins. We atkawtli yiji at. Aqo ajashin kaq. Aqa adakhas. O chuoya hasakausakut. Aqa hastu adkhaitin. Adakhas wudaqin. Just ya anaskati yakh yatiqo ahin khukaq. Ye awe achtu ye yeti shiatihini quu yaha yuqatangi dati haschiwini. Uhan qahatu wasaku gwalhisitin kachanes qunakhoihin tade awe wudaqin du adkhai kach. Ye awe achtandatane ye yeti uhansu. Gwalchu oya wa yakhch. Du jinaya utullashat. Aqa uhansu. Kach yinde aya utu. Hawuduak. Hin tak kach aya at utu at. Ya harlilko hastin. Ya hasi yuqatangi. Wan qanins gwalchis chayegu gink aya. Atu achch ya hasi yuqatangi. Chaan qoa hadayedi. Ye ewe ituwa gesagu yisaku. Ade at wuditachye. Hin tade nagu. Ye awa achawe ya kayhayati wujin. Ya wash kashik qoyad uhansu. Hastu yakh aya yuqaqtulaat. Qanakwe atinach yati ytaltakat yallingat ani. Taltakat we llingat ani tu qwani. Awe qawqalkone aya kagagtaduk qachuni. Yallingat yuqatangiti. Ye awe ade wooch yeeguwáatlʼ ye. Ya yeejineir ha yuqatangiti. Achoyartu just kalka yekte. Yak was ya hastu yuqatangi. Qanakwe hajir. Qanakwe hatude. Shkalneegí. Aqa awe achtuati. Qeqa has ausaku. Ya hastu dachrankian. Qanakwe hair hastu haswudashi. Chuoya we uski toots ina hajike yeti. Qahata chankisani hastu jitegachtuti. Ye oe hayuqatangi. Shlzidein awe ach yakawsha. Kiss. Kashir qati qoa. Kashir qati. Nilchisha khaydi sa achi. Yid qoa. Klingit khinach qa adaye jagachtuni. Ḳaʻatl wasaku adusa. Wasaku ya dasa tusatin. Kwali wakshi hek kwasane. Ya kikuk Kichnáalx. Kichnáalx itqoa. Kdech ayuqatang kelka dushhiti. Hasqatlech wasaka. Waltis tleika. aqatsu yeeguwáatlʼ, aqatsu chakuta, kwal yaqtataj ayi. Hejoseku wushtihu ish, ho owe, wega, kunsatu katagu. Ho owe kutsiti. 1980 awe kijinjan katu katagu wutian. Hejoseku kwal ho owe kwal chakut ho owe. Ye awe. Hejoseku. Aqa awe chakuta yak. Ekhwaji kaskei Susie James. Ye awe khwa ach do yuchatangi. Uhalaya, la. Ye kwanachwe do yuchatangi awe dayeje khone. Ya uhan kwashwe ye shkalneegí. Hakunak, huqa'a, hakulaq. Joye ye khwaji kaskei wuti.
$1980. Ye kudziti like kochdziti chushuguta ka daat utuchatan daat wanganins ku'ik gwash potlatch awsa hut ka has hodatan adat we tukaneyi ka we adat ki ka ha ye jineiyí ka yes we tukaneyi ka we shukwa gao hua hatuanagu yes 1980 tukaneyi hut wusiti ka just kega tuasigu hayuchatangi ka hakusi kach yan utuadesh ka hastu kach yan utuadech agach tu dech.
Ye awe. Ek awe agach tu dech. Ye awe. Nik echa. Chade ek wal kijin ach katagu we gao. Tutle has yuche watan. Ye awe tu oya. Dachtihin awe ke hawu wat. Ya has ade awe ke hawu wat ye. Kaya yidat qanesh tu lingit eqa. Aqar lingit tundetani hatu ye yeti. Qat qane aya haqinach yuchagach tu la'a. Joya tsu ke haq wooch tsu. Ye awe ach tundetani ye yeti. Ajawe ya hashil kohas. Ke has wusiwat. Ke has hausiwat. Ke has hausiwat. Kecha. Zoek again. Korte wooch. Het was akut.
Dasa Lingít think it kainach ganugan. Late ka you do a sock.
Ganugan?
Ganugan. We just went over it in one of those speeches.
Used to sit?
Huh?
Used to sit?
Used to sit.
Mhm.
Oh, geez.
Oh. There might be another one too. Let me check it. Yeah. So that is the verb, but you also have this, which is if it comes after a verb, like you would say, it's called a contingent. So it was like, if I understand that right, it's like this had to happen for the other thing to happen.
If it comes after the verb?
Yeah, just like it's the same type of thing as nooch, noojing, nook, nookni, and qanukin. Like those, so those are all post verbs that were a lot more common than they're probably hardly like there's maybe one or two or three people who would ever use the ones outside of nooch or noojing. Those ones seem to have survived. But if you really look at some of the speeches and stories told by Danawak and others, they'll say nuke, and they'll say nukni, and they'll say qanukin. And these aren't true verb modes. I guess like they kind of are, but it's like the suffix makes it. And so you end up with, I think it's basically like you say achanuch, right? And you would say acha. So it's very similar to the imperfective, but it goes minus, it has to be minus I. And then you could add any one of these to that basic verb mode. And then it's not a true mode, but it does and so like you could say nuke and you could say, uchaich and you could say achanuch. I don't know what the difference is if there is one. If there is, it's a very slight difference. And so, yeah.
Okay, can you explain one more time? If ganugan is after the verb, then it means if this verbs, then something following?
Yeah, like you have to do the first one to do the second one. Like I had to unlock the door to open the door. So you would say like unlock qanukin apahite shuwatan. So I think it's like only after they had done this could they do this other thing. Let me find an example. There's an example it's in the Lingít short stories. Let's see. I think it's under the story here. Fur seal hunting. So in fur seal hunting, we have so like this is a really neat story to go through. But we do get to this part. So we say yank ʼatulitseen qanukan shaka qanukch we ʼatulli. So he would go up there to study, and only then, I think that's how you're translating qanukan. Anybody got any other thoughts on that? He would sit on the bow of the boat to shoot. Let's see.
Only after he studied, he
Yeah.
would sit on the bow of the boat to shoot.
Yeah.
So, yank stu at this to kanugan only after.
Mhm.
So kanugan means only after what he just said. Yank stu at this to only after that.
Yeah. That's my interpretation.
Why don't they just use sa?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Renee, I put another example in the chat there. If I didn't paste it, but that's where it is.
Oh, go look.
So then, Lance, you could use sa here then. You could say, yank stu at dus tu sa shakaganuk we at andi.
Yeah, well, I think so. Tsa was like only after this thing did they do this thing. I think the contingent is like you had to do this to do the other thing. So the tsa could be like, only after he left did I eat my dinner. But then it would be like, I could not eat until they left, would be more like the other one. And so the other one's just like, it's I think it's tied like cause and effect there, but maybe a little bit more tightly with when you make the actual verb out of it. Let me open the Raven book. Let's look at this other example.
Renee,
Ah,
so would something like Ganugan be like a necessary precursor? Something that just has to happen before the second one can happen?
yeah, I think it was like they had to study how to. So like in this, when they get into the fur seal hunting part, like when you go to that little short story, which maybe we'll take a look at it maybe. They had to really study how to shoot them because you're way out on open water. And what you had to do, like hunting fur seals a long time ago was way different than hunting harbor seals. So they're quite a bit bigger, and they live way out near the open ocean, like past Glacier Bay when you turn up towards Lituya Bay. And they would go and they would wait till there was really rough, pretty big water. And then they would chase them. And then those seals are just jumping into wave after wave after wave. And it makes them tired. And then once they're tired, you're gonna get them. But then like you're going way up and down and stuff. And so it's probably what they're talking about there. So yeah, it does seem to be like, and maybe there's some sort of time difference there too. Like we had to do this thing for a while, like studying it for a while, you know. And maybe the sa one is more like, oh yeah, they did this thing than this other thing. Like, and that could be, I'm kind of theorizing here. Gao kehas akwatan kadnukan awe konate kandahai aya atehas akunakich you yeeguwáatlʼ ite ʼatulitseen. When they pick up the drum is when they send the opposite moiety there to shovel out those raven footprints. There are human beings' foot tracks. Oh, whoops. And so, Gao, Kehas Akwatan, they will pick up the drum. Kanukan. So now we have like once after so it's putting it, one is you have the verb in the future, and then you have qnugan after it. So now that's saying only after they will pick up the drum in the future. Qnate kandahayi, they're opposites, which you could also, there's other ways you could say that. Ade has a kunakich. And so that's to send, they always send them to do this work. So my other guess here too is when you have a qnugan, you're probably going to have, it's really going to open the door for a good time for repetitive or habitual verbs. They always send them out. So they can shovel them out. So here you have this one sentence. There's a future contingent, and then there's a habitual, and then there's a purposive. So this has all kind, like this is where, you end up at the feet of Shadang, and you just do the we're not worthy thing, because it's like, that's incredible. So let them shovel it out. Or let it be shoveled out. And then so it could be shoveled out. Yeah, so probably you just have more flexibility than with like sa. And so if you're tying together like a really big complex concept like this one is, and so this is getting into whenever they are going to do this one, it's so that this other thing can happen. That's wild. Mind-melting stuff. Other thoughts or questions or things you want to look at? I do think, ḥakunkáf.
It's not really a question. I just wanted to share a part from Ḳaal.átk speech. It's just kind of a moment of just like, that's really powerful. Like I could understand it when he said, "Wooch de kuksahan kua west for long living, yeeguwáatlʼ." Together, like, with love for each other, we will live for a long time. I just felt like, as Yeeguwáatlʼ said, it's like poetry.
Yeah. When did he get to that part? I think it was right at the beginning, right?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. Love that goes one direction will die. For long living. And so like I really love stuff like this because like it's such a good reminder for like it exists, and then we're going to put it into the future. We know it's conjugation, so we have to keep that ye there. It will be, right? It's so cool. It will exist. Okay. This is also like one of my favorite all-time speeches. Like we have a whole song that comes out of this speech. That is awesome. So once he starts getting into his speech, a little bit, I'd put a T in there to retype it. And that means like something that's real heavy, and you just pushed and you pushed it on the edge of it and it just barely moved. our ancient peoples, our forever people. Adisqnuguya, the way they do things, the way they behave. It's like such a fundamental thing to what we do. Like that's true. Like we could study Lingít day in, day out, and we'll still be like, I'm barely there. Like think of the ancient people. Whoa. Away that ayah shqayisnu gutaga ye tunuk yikat wugudin ach ish has itiqaner. Just now, it is correct or as if shqayisnugut. So this is a purposive, and so you have yisanuk would be the perfective of this verb, yisanuk. And so only to soothe your pain. So cha'ayach shqayisnugutake. And there's like a question marker on there for a yes or no question. So like, is it just so that you could feel right? So ayach is to correct. And then shqayisnugit, like you feel it inside of you feel it yourself, like, because it's reflexive. And it's also like shqayis. So you'd say shqayisnug would be let you feel it, like in your feelings, I think. Yetunuk, this is how we feel. Yikatwugudin, what befell you, my father's surviving relative. Yetunuk yikatwugudin. So yikatwugudin is, it had come upon you, but not anymore. So usually you would say, ikat uwagut. And that it literally means to like walk onto something. But when that's on a person, that's almost always a bad thing. Hakat uwagut way nikute. It's like some big sickness came upon us. Or cut gut is, like if you say cut gut on its own, it means like diarrhea, right? And so it's like, it's usually like a bad thing, but now it's in the decessive. So it had walked upon you. Ach ish has itiqaner. There's one, the survivor in the remains of my father's peoples. Yahweh away ya yidat away cha it tu kautu techu yah away hatu jechin. I'm gonna go look at here. Now we're just trying to calm your thoughts, is how it came to mind. So ya yidat right now. Je itu kautu techu yah away hatu jechin. So now we gotta go look at other things. So we gotta look up this Kleich thing, ʼatulitseen maybe. We'll go check out here. Go look for Kleich. To cause something to move. Let's go look at that. And then we'll go look in, we'll see what jineiyí has as well.
Is that plunging?
Yeah.
ʼatulitseen.
Mm-hmm.
ʼatulitseen. Yeeguwáatlʼ.
Mm-hmm.
Yeeguwáatlʼ. Wooch. I was trying to say, I used to plunge.
Yeah, so if we look here, yeah, ʼatulitseen and ʼatulitseen. So ʼatulitseen The one thing that's hard to tell from this is the only thing we know is it's a nut or a zero. So with these two examples, we can narrow it down. And then we should be able to figure out that it's nut conjugation. So one is, but no, maybe not. Okay, I have to look it up because I think this is an imperfective. And then ya'akanatlech. So with ya'akanatlech, we know that it's not ga or qa. And how do we know that?
Because there's no K or yay.
That's right. If it was ga, it had to be ke akanatlech. If it was qa, it had to be ye akanatlech. So we say, okay, it's not our zero. And so what we need is the perfective to tell us that. And so chat kachatleich, I made the salmon move with the big plunger. And akanatlech, they're causing the fish to move in a certain direction. So we'll go see, let's see. We'll look in the verb notes and see if we could find this verb. So this says ga conjugation, akawatech. I think that's got to be zero. And then if it's zero, but I would expect it to be high. Maybe that's a little mistake. I don't know. Katatlech would be the, so it's an act verb because it has an imperfective. But then it is short in the perfective, and I would expect it to be high. So akawatlech. So then I would expect you to be able to say katlech for the command form, plunge the fish, scare him into the net. But then coming back, we're like, wait a minute. Now what are they saying? Ya yidat awe cha etu kautua techu yach awe hatu jachin. Now, just to move things around inside of you. It's like we just move things around inside of you. Like we're plunging the fish. Like this is, the metaphor level is unbelievable. So wild. Hatu jachin. It came to mind. So this means for something heavy to fall. And then like it was something that came to us. Wild. Okay, where am I? Achawe yeeguwáatlʼ yetki. This is why your children say, Yag adeyeji yeeguwáatlʼ ʼatulitseen chakawa yeeguwáatlʼ hashilko has adesi adeyes jineiyí awe. Yes, here, the way you are working, we don't want it to echo into nothing, to sound off into nothing. Our ancestors, the way they work. Wow. And so a lot of this comes back to like bringing these big songs out, these song-sync responses. Any thoughts on any of this so far?
Yeah, how did you get from cha kawayik yawis achi? Where's the nothing in there?
Kawayik. Kawayik is into thin air. And so this is a great one. Like so like if you're at some event and let's say some raven stands up and gives a speech And like, if someone gave a big speech in Lingít today, it's quite likely that very few people will be able to understand them. And if you don't, you've got this feeling like nobody said anything, that they just talked and now everyone's just going to move on like nothing happened. And for us, that's like a cultural violation. Just, it's a bad thing. So then you could stand up and say, Achaway a yag uqatan ya yidat gunil cheesh achtuasagu sakai wasashtiqahatati haiti dishi yayagi. Right. And so whatever you wanted to say, but like, so that's yawus achi. So the positive would be yawza'ach. And it's for something to just sound off. And if we say kuch in front of it, it means it's for something to echo back. They are ʼatulitseen wooch. So starting here, ʼatulitseen, we gave up on it. We gave up. They are ʼatulitseen. It's something we had already given up on. So the day says it's already happened. Is like at this place. ʼatulitseen. It's here at that place, it's a thing we had already given up upon. And then we get wooch, what you told us to look at. This is like an undocumented verb. So you could say kiyaqa, hakiyaqa. You told us to do the thing, or you sent us on an errand. You told us to go to that place. But now we see wooch in front of it as an embedded noun, a thematic prefix. What you told us to look at. And like this gives so much context to this quote we're about to get to and the song that was composed because of it. So this means to untie something. It's got the double ka on top of it. And so that usually means it could either mean around the entire surface, but it's usually like it's holding two things together is how I think of it. Because like tag is to bite. Kakatag is the name for pliers, because these two things that come together like that. Ḳa'atulitseen. That is why we untied it. They ʼatulitseen away. Ḥatla'lishkohas, ḥatla'kakhas, hastukustiyi, hastuyuqatangi. We already used to try, you see, our mother's grandparents, our mother's maternal uncles, their way of life, their language. Yes, we had already given up. It was something we had already given up on for ourselves. This is huge stuff. This is huge, huge stuff. What I take from it is they had already lost hope that the language was gonna be coming back. Hajir kakiyaket. You have all untied it for us. Achowetsu hete shukachtutan yakusketakeit, hajikanaskaudakid. That is why we will open it again. This box, this wisdom box, wisdom container, in our possession, they all died off from it. Hakakas, kahashil kohas, yayidet away, yadu. Our maternal uncles, our grandparents, right now, it is here. And that's like the entire, like, that's such a huge, and like all these things that build up to it. And then this, you know, there are lots of huge things that were said there. But like, it's no wonder a song was composed based on this speech. It's incredible.
I was just going to say, Kane, like, I don't know how to say this in a good way, but there's so much more there than that song.
Yeah.
And yet all you hear is that song, eh? Or that's kind of what people hear, but there's just real big stuff there. I mean, anyway, I'll leave it at that. Yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, like what I was saying sort of at the beginning is sometimes a bird comes and grabs some food off the surface of the water and it takes off. And that's great. And sometimes that's how I feel people are with working in this language. It's like grab a little bite, grab a little bite. But like some birds go way down into the water. And that's what our goal is to try and go way down into the water. ʼatulitseen, did you find a passage you want us to look at? Uksa. What page is it on? Oh, you can. Which one is it? Oh, ʼatulitseen. So in this case, the daat is for something to scatter. And so when we get into that verb, and like just with some of these, like so we see the Lingít, and that's like such an interesting concept in Lingít, like into thin air, and then. You know, and you'll see it when it's one of those words, like once you know that word and you go through this particular book, you'll see it quite a few different places. And another one is jineiyí. I think those are very related concepts, is jineiyí and Lingít. That's what I'm looking for. So this particular, so if we look at this verb root, we have for stuff to pile up, for something to crack into two pieces, for hair or feathers to molt or to fall out and kind of pile up. If we go back to Natla Jessie Dalton, we'll look at a speech right after this where she talks about their feathers piling up. To crack apart, to fall of grain-like objects because they're going to pile up. To pour out, especially grain-like objects, because they're gonna pile up. To sprinkle or scatter. So I think you could way the ʼatk. To fall down of buildings. It's really interesting for building. There's two main ways to talk about a building to fall down, and they both have sa in it, which is wild. Like sa, like that's another just thing we want to think about. It is like se, the body part, the base of the neck. It's also the voice. It's for a building to fall down. It's for somebody to forget something. There's like all these little, just amazing little clues on what we need to think about. Wooch, to fall apart of a fitted tube-like object, like plumbing maybe. To trap it in a deadfall trap. Who was I just listening to? Kichnáalx talking about a deadfall trap just the other day. and a real heavy thing, and then a lightweight thing, and then some sort of you got some food down there, and then you got a line, and the animal trips the line, and then the heavy thing falls on the end. ʼatudli.átk. Oh wait, we did that one. So this one is ʼatulitseen would be they were trapping with a deadfall trap. Not a snap trap, would be different. But ʼata is the name of a trap. S'eek, to be confused, to be bewildered, to be dizzy. And then it would be duda ya kusaqat. They were confused, dizzy, to pass out, to lose consciousness, and to wander. So all this has to do with like there's scattering and like piling up. And so it's wild when we look at that verb. What page was that on again? It's another George Davis speech.
Number one, 276 was where I started.
Kawayite away. So there's another example too of the K, kawayik, but that K can disappear. And there we have your words fell into space. Kawayite away this the one that is surviving in the space, in the remains of my father. What a wonderful thing.
I was going to ask you about that too. Is it only like that K that drops off or changes, or kind of like that's the one I've been noticing lately?
Yeah.
But
It seems to be like, I can't really think of others. Like I think the others tend to really stay there. But I remember, yeah, when I had noticed that, it's probably when my kid was like, she was a little baby, and I was singing that Uski gachi hu askutu yihu good. A house and goblins kahasa shower hitch. What was that? Uski little bunny foo, I think it was called, or something like that. And then she's had that little, I had fun with it, but I would say askatu yihu. They went through the forest. But yeah, that's that yich and yik. So yik, aik, talk, kawayik, they all seem to be susceptible to just disappearing. Because I think it gets too, when you want to say yikdach and yikde, and it just seems like an optional thing. Okay. Oh, we're going to do the piling. That's right.
We need to start a movement to revive Ganugan.
Yeah. And only when we do, then good things will.
I think that's just a cool sounding word.
Yeah, I like it. I think the first time I did notice it was looking at this hunting fur seal story, which is so cool because like so we can get let's see. The Lingít to wear out the ones who are going to wear out they're going to exhaust the fur seal. Big waves going to wooch. They always go out as a fleet. You shakade ka yadudicht ayi kunach ayayan hasudnij ayis. The one at the head of the canoe and the one at right behind that person, they really are always ready for it. ʼatulitseen. So now we got ʼatulitseen daat. When you sell one of them, you get $30. Yashakade ayawus unchayi dujituch at undich un. Now the story just got big. I suspect these are Robert Zuboff stories. Because it's like he gave him a little box. He's like, let me see how many complicated verbs I could fit in this little box. And this is what it feels like when you work with his stuff. The one at the head of the canoe prow one, ayawus unchayi. So you got a lot of things here. This is a very unpackable verb. Uncha, so do we know, like if I said awa un, do you know what that is?
Shoot.
Yeah. And then do we know awa uncha?
Miss.
Yeah, to miss. So cha is a suffix, which means to miss. But to sort of get a feel for this, we're going to have to go look up the un verb and see what's going on when we start adding these prefixes on there, these thematic prefixes. So here's the un verb, and like we don't even really have them. There's ʼatulitseen, that gives us a good, to shoot off, to fire. But maybe for like this depth, we need to go into Lear and see what he's got for these un verbs.
So is Lear like the scuba diver, deep diver, Tlingit guy?
Yeah, so I would say, yeah. Nation Story are down, like they're certainly down the middle of the water. Like you could look up and you could still see but you could still see the sunshine. I think you get down into Lear and you're getting into the fish with the big light bulb on it that goes over its head or whatever that thing is. Now you're deep sea diving. So we get into they're setting off firecrackers. They're firing at tin cans. Oh, they're firing tin cans out of a cannon. Oh, you know what? They still do this. They did this in Angoon. We were paddling in Angoon. They said, we're going to shoot off our cannon, just so you know. But what they didn't say is we're going to do it twice. Once when you're kind of far and once when you're really close. And so it was fun. They fired in their direction to quiet a mob. Trying to shoot. Shooting them one after another. So now we get the ya. Okay, we're getting there. Shot them right smack on their big nose. I have a feeling there's got to be some kind of metaphor. And now we get they made a special effort. They went to considerable lengths to make sure they came to the potlatch. So they fired all over at their feet. So now we got ʼatulitseen. That brings us back into here. And we don't really get what the S classifier is. So here we do have, as far as I know, oh, hold on, we're almost, I left the other one too soon.
Isn't the S classifier for when you do the verb to a person?
Let's see. In this case, I went to the wrong place. There we go. So now we have missed it or just grazed it. So there is our verb provided to us by Johnny Marks. So that has to do with like just grazing, just barely missing. S'eek ayawus uncha yeeguwáatlʼ ʼatulitseen. So I think what you have here, when the one at the front misses, just grazes it, tries to shoot but misses it. Do jitur. I gotta go find jitur. These little short stories are so much fun. ʼatulitseen. I don't know what jitur means. Do jitur ʼatulitseen. Anybody want to solve that one?
Holding inside one's hand?
Yeah. What is ʼatulitseen? I know what that is too. Is it the bowl? ʼatulitseen.
Does it have something to do with at und?
Yeah.
At und.
Is that shooting?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeeguwáatlʼ. Do jitur ʼatulitseen. So maybe like shkalneegí ayus unchi do jitur ʼatulitseen. When they're shooting with their shot, maybe. Achadi. Jineiyí. The bailer is always ready. Daat wooch. Ada. What is ada? It's the day of big words. It's a spear. Is it some kind of spear? I think it is. Oh, it's on this dictionary. It's a spear. I think it's that really, like you see the pictures of people standing at the canoe with like a very long spear. I think it's that one. Ada. ʼatulitseen. They spear it with that big seal spear. ʼatulitseen. And drag it around. Then they always drag it around the boat. Yeeguwáatlʼ. And then they throw it into the boat. When they have completely studied it, only after that, they always sit on the prow of the canoe with the shooter. That's the shooter. Only then, they scoop up water. They scoop a cup along the water. What are these called? Short stories? They should be called impossible stories.
S'eek, is this the giving the seal water?
It could be, yeah. So they bring it in. So only then they scoop, they'll get up, they'll spill water. Hinach gatuchich gucha. At guchlaun. Qanukin. Yukuhida aqwauni. Yuyak at kakandilwatch. Guchlaun. So what do we have for that? Tla'un? To shoot something off, to blast it. At guchlaun. They're gonna start shooting. Oh. After they had started shooting, Yukuhida aqwauni yuyak at kakandul watch. What is the yakakandul watch? There's another habitual. Did someone say, we don't want to be bored, Grandpa? Shut up. Let me keep you busy for your whole life. Okay. It's very fun. With a canoe to row. Tichu wastani yak atkakana quatlch. When the waves are beating hard, the boat really rolls. So again, like they're hunting in like really big waves. Atkuhlaun qanukan yukuhida aqwauni. Not the kuhida part. You yak. The boat is always really rolling. Kuhida aqwauni. That must be what there's. Shukach ayas inchanuch. First, they always miss. Tujicheyak hichen akashuka dakkagutin kuhida undi dach away to jich nadej. Oh my goodness. It's like huh?
Doc Gooden. Pitcher for the Mets.
His whole life spiraled out because he was going to be a really good pitcher. It's going to go right through their hands. And then the one who was used to sit in front of him, kuhida undidach. Now that kuhida undi has to do with like shooting. Dujich nadej. Wow. So that nadej is for it to flow. Oh my God, there's so much here. Ayachi de kichun gach to stidnen, wayeti yek dachadushu, kachunas kadushu, yejikas hage wichun. Ade awagugu yej, chutlains de katkutu ashushik, wayeti yek jin katwanak, a jak yachun, tekeki, wayeti aga, kuti ayachti yi, de kikuchi. Aqa await nasjin kat wanag ajak. At shakuku teikti ya dugu nasjin kat nachsiti. Well, there's a few things in here. Like one, we're just gonna have to live in this little story for a while. We are transitioning to Sitka next week. If you're up for a little fun, I'm gonna type this story out and I'm gonna put it up and we'll just mess around with it. I know we have this George Davis one that we've been looking at too, but for my vision for a fourth year Lingít class is there's a reason why they wrote all this stuff down. There's a reason why they did all of this. These little short stories, like this is in reality, he could probably say this in 3 minutes, right? And it's going to take us 6 hours to digest it. It's such an amazing thing. But for us, the important part, I think, is to not feel discouraged at this, to say, look at this, this is the most complex Lingít that there probably is in the whole world. And I can handle it. It takes me a lot, but I can handle it. I'll be the one I'll be throwing the spears to miss. Well, we had to throw to miss in order to figure out how to shoot the thing with the kuhida.
Are you talking about yourself when you say I can handle it? Are you just
I'm trying to convince myself, yes. Really trying. You could do it. Fun. Okay. Any thoughts before we go? This is such a wonderful text. This is such a wonderful thing. I put the link to all those recordings in the chat. I will put all of these ones up on our class webpage. And so you can always go back there and download them. You can play them. It's just really important, I think, for us to have the audio for this too, because it comes to life so much more. And then even you could for the song, yes, so many people, they'll sing those words. It's this is such a huge, huge moment when he said those things. And then to look at the language and get the depth and get all the things they're saying before it, and then just to realize that's a heavy hitting thing. That's just huge. So Yakecha, Benchish.
yeah, Shisha?
Sheesh. Anyone.
Oh.
That's